Okay.
Okay. So, I'm hoping that we can have a discussion that you're not expecting me just to do all the talking. And I know you're a very, very talkative group, so I'm not worried about it. But it was kind of hard to figure out how do I present this. So I don't know how many people have actually had time to read the book or at least the chapters that I suggested.
Yeah,
Anybody?
I got it. I got it. Yeah.
You got it? Okay. All right. So, I know Marion said if she came, she would probably just have to listen. And I said, that's fine. That's fine. Um, so I guess to start out, just if you have read it or parts of it, was there anything in there that struck you or grabbed your attention or you had a question about or that you would like to talk more about?
Well, I've only made it through the first part of the book, but one of the things that you talk about right at the beginning is that when you know 50, 60 years ago, the U.S. was still basically a Christian nation.
Mhm.
And so I know from my childhood, it was growing being with basically all Christians. And, you know, I think that's true. Matab, you were, of course, in a different place at the time, but, uh, you know, but, you know, everything you had the Christmas play at school and you had Christmas trees everywhere. And that's just kind of how it was, you know. And, and clearly we're in a totally different society now. And, I mean, I think it's a good thing, but it just changes our perspective and how we think about our religion, others' religions, and how do we interact with them.
Right, for sure, for sure. Especially, I think, I wrote this book how many years ago now that not
When
even
did you write
thinking
it?
about where we might be today because
Uh-huh.
the form that Christianity is taking right now and those who are saying that we have to be a Christian nation and this is the only way and especially their version of it. So it is, it is very current. Yeah, thanks. Anybody else have any initial thoughts or
Susan,
questions?
I was thinking, sorry, I was
No, go ahead.
thinking that your views about your side of the story, about Christians
Hmm.
and how they felt, how they feel about,
Hmm.
uh, or at the time they feel, I don't know, it's just now or then, whatever, it doesn't matter,
Hmm.
about other people's religions. And God forbid if what if I like their religion? What am I going to do? Or am I betraying, as you said, my
Right,
religion,
right.
or Jesus, whatever, if you want to name it that way.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I think all religions are like that. I don't know of any religion
Right.
who's going to say, no, mine isn't so good, but yes, Muslims are great, or Christians are great, or, whatever. So, and I think that goes back to our humanity of wanting to protect ourselves. It goes to the basic needs of uh, what I was born with. This is what I read or heard the minute I opened my eyes, or that's what they taught me. So that's the word of God, and nothing and
Right.
everything else besides that is wrong.
That's right.
Because if not, then I'm wrong. Then I'm wrong. So I can't be wrong.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I have to make other people wrong.
Yes.
And so for me, when I over last 36, 7 years ago, when I um, got to know Sufism, and it took me a while because it wasn't foreign to me. It's still, the same as far as religion thing. It's the same, but not the same at all as being a Muslim or
Right.
the Muslim, normal Muslims. It's normal Muslims,
Hmm.
everyday Muslims. This is very, very different.
Very
And
different.
um, so now that I know more, so that I'm involved more, I love the idea that there is no good or bad. I don't have to um, feel I'm going to betray my religion if I like your religion.
Hmm.
Because I believe maybe with our global, um, MTO being global, we have so many different people from so many different religions that it doesn't allow, and especially our teacher doesn't allow, he doesn't allow um, anybody wanting to say that my religion, because the minute anybody opens their mouth and say, you were born in that religion. What do you know about it?
Yeah.
And being born doesn't count. What
Right.
do you know about, getting to know yourself? It's all about, and it's not the name. And then there's only, so there's only one. This can't be, my religion, your religion, or the 4 religions, 10 religions. It
Mhm.
isn't. It's just that one. And then if you go to the core of it, and it is that one, then what are we arguing about? What is it that I don't like? What is it that I do like? It just makes no sense in that way. So for me, it has been a relief of being relieved of not. I mean, there's so many things that every day you learn things. As old as I am, I'm still learning things. Thank God.
Yeah.
But at least that's one thing that I don't have to. I don't have to be concerned about your religion or my religion, or what do we do here, what do we do there. And so your points in the book are just so very well taken, and it's so universal. It is so universal. And again, goes back to being a human being and wanting to be right.
Well, yes. And Christianity, I mean, other traditions are pretty sure that they're right too, but Christians are especially sure that this is the right way. And I think I said in the book somewhere that every workshop I've ever done, or anytime I speak about this, that somebody raises their hand and says, "But what about when Jesus said, 'I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me,' or 'Jesus is the only name under heaven by which we are saved,' or something like that." So we have in our scriptures things that have given us conflict over that. We don't know what to do with that. And so there are some who take it super literally, and that's it. That's their position. In interfaith gatherings like this, I often say that it's easier to get along with the people in interfaith gatherings of different religions than the Christians who are in these gatherings, because people are much more open than with a lot of the people in my own tradition who, think I'm a heretic, or, I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Which that's fine. They can have their opinions, but yeah, there is a big divide.
It was interesting, Susan, because I got this book a long time ago and I started reading it. And of course, one of the first things, as you're talking about this, that you brought up was the song "I Am the Bread of Life."
I knew you were going to catch that.
And of course,
I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind about it.
No. I mean, I think the thing that I thought would have been neat, but I don't think it would have been impossible. It would be kind of impossible to have her come today because she's 98.
Yeah.
But I know the author of that song, and she's a good Sister of Mercy friend of mine. But if you were to talk to her about this now, she is so open. And I think in her mind, I think she would see it as, I am the bread of life, but there are other breads of life that people are having. It's, you know what I'm saying? I mean, some of her recordings were done in the 70s before the more inclusive language. And when they reissued some of the songs on a CD, which now is old, she wrote a little disclaimer: "I apologize for the non-inclusive language in my song." So she's, of all things, interesting. And her music is what really informed my faith, because I was in the convent when she was writing a lot of her music. So she'd be in the chapel on the organ playing this music, and she had beautiful chorales that, she'd been able to put together because she's so gifted. But I think that's where, I would, and I'm supposed to be giving a presentation on Easter. And it's been interesting because I've been talking about it for, after Miriam gave her beautiful presentation of Passover with her puppets. I go like, well, this is going to be a hard act to follow. And and I presented things to different people, and almost every I've when I was reading your book, one of the things I kept, because I think to me it's been a process. I mean, basically, I think what I'm kind of gearing toward is picking some area, either the Easter Vigil or something, and because people have expressed wanting to learn something and explaining that and why it's important to me. You know, the symbol of light, the symbol of fire, the symbol of whatever, as opposed to the traditional. But when I came across your part in the book, it's on page 111 where you talked about Hudson Smith. Is it Hudson Smith?
Houston
Smith.
Smith. Uh-huh.
And it said, let's see, says, I don't know if you have the book, if you want to look at one at
But I
page
have it
111.
online, so I
Okay.
won't have the right page.
Okay. So do you mind if I read this paragraph
ahead,
of
sure.
Susan's writing? Okay, it says, in 2001, at a weekend workshop at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, I was privileged to sit at the feet of Houston Smith, the preeminent authority on world religions. Smith has not only studied and taught, but actually practiced Hindu, Vedanta Zen, Buddhism, and Sufi Islam for more than 10 years each, all the while remaining a member of the Methodist Church. At the workshop, after we had heard the fantastic stories of Smith's immersion into world religions, someone asked the question that was on my mind: why are you still Christian? His answer, which I cannot find in any of the famous quote sites, has stayed with me over the years. He said, Christianity is the string of which I hang my beads. But it's a question of, we honor the other religions. And as I've been involved in multi-faith, I've been so enriched by everybody, but I'm still, my beads are the Christian beads.
The string.
What-
The string on which
Diane,
you
what
hang.
page is this?
Right.
What page?
What page is it, Diane?
Christianity is the string of which I hang my beads. And I thought, well, because
What
part of
page
the
is it?
mystery
What
of
page
it is
111.
Oh,
111.
111. Okay,
Yeah.
it's different in the PDF version. Okay.
yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
but the part that I have been grappling with as I've been meditating about what to say, because it's a personal thing. It's not, is, and I think there was other books that we read in the past. I forget the name of one of them, but it had to do with, and you've mentioned it in your book, when you get involved with another faith
Mhm.
or practices or whatever, and you go back to your own, it almost makes you stronger because you can pick out things that other people have that you hadn't thought of, but fit perfectly fine in what you're doing.
Or it could also create questions.
Mhm.
And that happens too. And if you can wrestle with that question, you can come out stronger. But that's what was happening with me with the song,
Mhm.
and other things too that I had loved singing, but I had come away from having some interfaith experiences, and because that song especially was totally based on that passage in John that is so problematic in explaining interfaith to Christians, that I just, I didn't know what to do with it at first. I've worked
Well,
through.
I'm not going to use it.
No, I would use it. I would use it.
Well, it's
But
interesting.
this
Yeah.
is my idea of passing over and coming back. That you
Right.
pass over into another tradition and you worship with that tradition, or you immerse like Houston Smith did. He totally immersed himself in that religion. And then he came back to his own. I would love to have been able to ask him, how did it change your idea about Methodism or Christianity? What did it change in the way you thought about Christianity? Because I certainly have changed in many ways from my encounters with other.
Well, I was going to show you if you can see. This is Sister Suzanne on
Oh,
Oh, that's
St.
great.
Patrick's Day.
oh,
Yeah, and
lovely.
you met her, Rick, when you went to Mercy Center.
The tour, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, I remember that.
If you were to, in her day, she would have been a perfect speaker to
Yeah, for sure.
but
Yeah.
what a gift. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think now you told us your background before, Matab. Did you grow up Christian or have you always been Sufi? It seemed like you went to a presentation and then.
Yes, I was born a Muslim. That's why,
Okay,
as a
okay,
teacher says,
okay. And so then,
when your
okay.
parents are Muslim, you call yourself Muslim. So that
Right.
doesn't. But that was the family. My mom wasn't very much into, but my grandmother was, and my
Mhm.
aunt. So I was very close to, and so
Mhm.
I was familiar, not really practicing,
Mhm.
very familiar with what. And of course, I was in Iran. I lived in Iran for about 15 years or so of my life, about 16 years of my life.
Mhm.
And so, and everybody else was Muslim. The only thing was that's so funny that when I was younger, the street that we lived in, we had the Armenian school right next door. And then Armenian, because of that school probably, I'm not sure, but because of the school was there, the Armenian neighborhood was close by. And then the Jewish people were back of our house on that other side. So we're definitely exposed to a whole lot of, and as kids, of course, we would all play together, it wouldn't matter. But I would learn about some of the things, that I had to help turn on the lights, turn off the lights, or whatever it was on Saturdays or whatever. All the Armenians, learn a little bit about them. But it was all so peaceful.
Mhm.
There was no,
Yeah, and it can be
nobody
that way.
tried to turn them Muslim, or nobody tried to,
Mhm.
talk me into becoming, an Armenian or, a Jew
Mhm.
on the other side of the street, which we spent a lot of time with. Very peaceful,
Mhm.
at least, that neighborhood was. And I think mostly in Iran, that's how it's still, there are many Jewish people in Iran.
Mhm.
Iran right now is a difficult country to, not right now,
Mhm.
last many years it has been very, very difficult to live in Iran because of these people are fundamentalists,
Right.
Mhm.
and there's nothing you can do with fundamentalists. There's no way out. There's only their way or no way. And then they're in power. So, and of course, as educated as especially the young people are in Iran. I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard one of the, if not the only, one of the countries that highest level of education for both men and women. Everybody has degrees. You name it, doctorate degrees, they're all over the place, and it's so difficult to study. I mean, just getting a diploma. It's not like going to school here and then every year they put you up and then say, you got a diploma now. Now you can go to college. It is not every class. And you fail one course, you have to repeat the whole year. So it's studying in Iran. It's very, very competitive and very, very difficult, especially once you get your high school, and just getting that high school degree is huge. But then you have to go to university. You have to go. It's not like, you want to go and that's why there are over like 4,000, I don't know, close to 5,000 good universities in Iran.
Mm.
And
That's
so
amazing.
It is.
filled with these young
And you know what? You don't.
brains and
Yeah.
the work. I mean, just so they're able to do that, but they come up as engineers and all the degrees, and they do so many amazing things in physics and this and then there are no jobs.
Mm.
Once they're done with all those education, it's good to have that, which is wonderful. But then the opportunity isn't there, and it's all about politics. It's all about what Shah was no good. The king of Iran was no good because corruption was horrendous. Now that people forget, they forget 45 years ago how bad things were. It was, again, they would call 1,000 family. The 1,000 family had everything, and then nothing else was happening. And this small group in the middle, but the rest were not struggling. And all the craziness. God forbid anybody said something bad about Shaw, they would kill him, torture. So it was just, they've forgotten how corrupt his whole family were.
Mm.
And that's why people came to the streets and had the revolution. And they thought, this is, but then unfortunately, these people turned out to be, it's only my way. And then suppression of women. As highly educated as they are, they want to be. Yes, jobs aren't there, but if, God forbid, have to cover their hair, and one hair comes out. What is that about? And then crazy costumes of can marry 3 times, 4 times, whatever the craziness. Male dominated. That's what it is.
Yeah.
If you're an amazing man, you're truly, from what I've heard, wonderful father, husband, great man. But there's so many men who, God forbid, to give him the slightest power, it's abused.
Yeah.
Against who? Against women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so things like that. So I was born in a peaceful time where I was exposed to all of that, but didn't know anything about Sufism until much, much later on, like 36, 37 years ago over here. I thought, what is this? And I thought I knew I called myself Muslim. And then, so for once, once people end up with that kind of power, very few can let go. They want to hold on and pass it on to their kids, their own kids. Then they have to stay with them, and then their families have to be provided. Anyway, so what I want to say is that at the end of it, that's why United States was always a dream from all the people, around the world. If they could, they wanted to be here. Because at least on the surface, yes, United States did lots of horrible things too, like all the colonial,
Sure.
England and France and all of that. Just with Iran, what they did to Mossadegh was this guy who wanted to nationalize the oil. Say, okay, we'll take a share. This is our oil. Can we take a small share? No, can't do it. And so, they brought the Shah back, and that's not democratic. They killed the guy and jailed him for the longest time. And that was CIA. That wasn't like they were hiding it. They went to Iran with suitcases filled with money, and money does these things. And so, how many countries did they change? How many countries did they look at what they did to South America and all the other countries? And the results, unfortunately, they pick people. They don't pick good people. They pick people who listen to them, which means that they're corrupt.
Yes,
they don't
right.
want to work in their own countries.
I was just thinking that not on the same subject exactly, but thinking about global peacemaking and doing good things in the world. In the book, there's a footnote, and it's just in chapter 1 about United Religions Initiative. I don't know if you saw that or not, but what's interesting about them is that they were formed in San Francisco in 1993 because the Episcopal bishop at that time, William Swing, was invited by the United Nations to hold a large interfaith service at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. It was the 50th anniversary of signing of the UN Charter. And Bishop Swing asked himself, if the nations of the world are working together for peace through the UN, then where are the world's religions? And so he went on to form URI, United Religions Initiative, and to be part of it, it's made up of what they call cooperation circles. And they're all over the world. If you go on their website, you can just see every place they are. And all it takes to form a circle. And I was thinking maybe this is something we might want to do. Um, they're self-organized, self-governing, self-funding, um, and you have to have a minimum of 7 members, or you can have thousands, but a minimum of
Mhm.
7, and you have to have at least 3 faiths or traditions. And then each one subscribes to the shared vision of peace, and are connected through the
Mhm.
global network. I've been to some of their events and everything. They're really cool. So anyway, that just came to my mind as thinking about Iran and thinking about all the other places in the world that are just going through so many, well, our own country, going through things, and yet there are people, even in really difficult places. I don't know about Iran. I don't know that, but you know, there are people doing really amazing things. Um, so that came to my mind anyway.
That
Oh,
is true and so hopeful. So hopeful that
yeah.
that's what gives us
Well,
hope.
I think that's what we have to do. And I think I've said before, I see the interfaith organizations as being on the front line of providing hope to people. You know, we can't let ourselves get bogged down in all the ugliness that's around us. We have to keep seeing the beauty and um, show the world what it looks like to be peacemakers.
Well,
Anyway,
and this is what I was thinking about when we were talking about all of the things we've talked about over the last several months about, we have certain strengths and areas that we're working on, but we're there. We're
yeah,
there. I mean, people
yeah,
know we're here. Even if somebody, like even tonight, even though we don't have a big turnout, people know we're doing it. And the people here are going to benefit, greatly by being here.
mhm,
But I think um, even I was noticing on the ticket, because I got a ticket to the comedy night, and I'm debating if I'm going to be up to being in a crowd on Sunday night because of just getting over a cold. But on the top of it, it says, you know, um, Peninsula Jewish Community Center and Peninsula Multi Faith Coalition. We're co-sponsors of that event,
right.
and it was sold out. Even though none of us did much of anything, but I think people know that, and the same. I think about, and again, I don't know, Matab, if this is a problem for Sufis or whatever, but the 4 workshops that are going to be given at the Island United Church through the Pride Center,
Mhm.
I feel very proud of us for being co-sponsors of that, because this is part of people's everyday lives, and not, it. I think we're doing a lot of amazing things. So I think we all have to tell ourselves to be, I mean, we all should be proud that we even belong. You
Sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
But even
absolutely.
though we want, like, Rick and I have had a lot of discussions, and he's had a lot of my lengthy emails with 50,000 ideas on them. But,
Which are all wonderful, by the way.
but, but, but we're there, and we are doing a good job. And I think you're right when you said that. It's important for people to know we
Yeah,
want to be peacemakers. That's what our role is.
right.
Want to
Yep.
be peacemakers.
And it might not look like we're doing a lot, but it Matab will agree with me on this. It comes from the heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from the heart that if each of us is spreading peace and love from our heart, then it's going to have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
It just will. It might not look like it at the moment, but eventually it will. And we have to hold on to that hope. So, all right, let me see if there's anywhere else you want to go with this. There's a whole chapter on different ways that people are doing religion these days, and some of it we've talked about in other studies, like um, multiple belonging, people who belong to 2 or more different religions, and then there's the nuns, the spiritual but not religious, and the nuns. And the last one was atheists and humanists. And in interfaith organizations, they're becoming very intentional about including people of faith and of no faith. So including, which makes it a little hard sometimes, because then what do you call it? Interfaith? Wait a minute. What do we what do we call this? But anyway, there's I don't know if you saw this part or not, but I love this joke. The joke is, when I told the people of Northern Ireland that I was an atheist, a woman in the audience stood up and said, "Yes, but is it the God of the Catholics or the God of the Protestants in whom you don't believe?"
That's a good one.
I thought that was good. But I personally find the subject of atheism quite interesting, because it's not always what you think it is. Because we usually only hear from the fundamentalist atheists, the rabid, no religion and forget it and it's all bad. But there are some who definitely have some ideas about God or the divine, just not in the sense of a person, or not in the same way that others think of it. Um, I don't know if you ever heard of there's a pastor up in Canada. I think she's United Church of Canada, Greta Vosper, and she was put on trial by her denomination because she claimed to be an atheist. And they said, you can't be a pastor of this congregation. But when you read what she writes, it's not that she's an atheist in the sense of I don't believe in anything. Not at all. It's that I don't believe in that theistic, supernatural divinity that many people believe in. I believe in a different way. And so to me, that was interesting, because if you get to the part in the book, and this is further on down, so you might not get there yet, of when I start talking about different versions of Christianity, like, I gotta find it. I don't have page numbers, sorry. Well, evolutionary Christianity, or I gotta find it.
What chapter would it be in?
I'm looking, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Believe it or not, I don't actually have a paper copy of
It must be
It's
part
pretty far
5,
down.
chapter 17.
Okay.
I think it might be chapter 17. And if you have the book, it's 124.
Okay. Okay.
Welcome,
Or
John.
123.
Come on.
Hi, John.
Well, it starts getting at it in chapter 7. It starts getting at it, but then later on it gets
Okay.
more into it, because this idea of how to think about religion. And I know probably many of us know Richard Rohr. Father Richard Rohr is a
Mhm.
wonderful Catholic writer, and he has a wonderful book called oh, the Divine, no, Christ, what is the Universal Christ?
The Universal
Universal
Christ.
Christ, yes.
We read it in the booklet. We read it in the book club.
Did you? Oh, hey, John, there he is. Yes, Universal Christ, that's it. But when you start looking at somebody who's coming at Christianity from that mystic perspective, then all of a sudden you're pretty much in alignment with Sufism and other mystic traditions as well. And that's one way of looking at Christianity that gets away from doctrine. It gets away from things like, oh, what do I have to do in order to get to heaven? Or what do I have to do to be saved? All that kind of classic language that we have. You get away from that. And it's a very different idea about God. I know I'm still looking. I talk about Pierre Teilhard de Chardin,
Right.
who was a paleontologist and a priest.
Jesuit.
And he was censored by the Catholic Church originally, but now he's gone, dead many years now. But they let him back in, and his writings are available. But he has this more cosmic idea, and he comes at it from a scientific view. And so you hear people talking about the cosmic Christ, the universal Christ, which, if you're in an interfaith setting, some even will say the cosmic Christ, or you might call it Buddha nature, or you might, what other name? The Tao. maybe or maybe not, but there are those who are thinking in that way. I'm
Mhm.
still looking.
I
I
know
guess that's what I
for
wanted to say.
Catholics, a lot of that changed after Vatican II.
Uh-huh.
I went to a Jesuit high school, and they had us read Teilhard de Chardin.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
no,
that as a result of Vatican II. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Sort of
Yeah.
as the effort to reformulate how different religions view each other.
Yes, and what he's the name for what he talks about, he doesn't call it that, but others call it panentheism.
Right.
And so instead of theism, if I say I'm not a theist, if I say I'm not a theist, I could say I'm an atheist, and that would be true. I'm an atheist, and
Mhm.
but I am a panentheist, and that means that I see the whole cosmos, the whole universe, as the body of God,
Mhm.
not like pantheism, or what is it? What is it? That's it, pantheism, right? It's not like that. It's not that
Mhm.
God is in everything, but the universe is the body of God, and we are all part of that. We're not separate from it. That divinity is the sea that we all swim in, you know.
Right. Right.
So anyway, I found that to be extremely um, interesting. And then evolutionary Christianity, and especially for these days, as we think about our problems with creation, with caring for the earth.
Mhm.
And you know, I remember way back, way back when we were first getting into we got to recycle and all this stuff. And I had a friend who was saying she just didn't get ecology. She just didn't get it. She was okay, I get it. We have to recycle and everything, but it's got to be if we're going to save the earth, it's got to be more than that. And I said, you know, unless we change our whole theology, we're never gonna do it. And this is there are those who are doing evolutionary um it's Christianity, but it's certainly bigger than Christianity. And interspirituality, that's a whole nother section in here. There are some who say that interspirituality is the way of the future. And
Right. Well,
I
you know
think
what is interesting? I was thinking about some of the things you've just reflecting on what you've just been saying, and how again, if you and you've mentioned this, Matab, and I'm sure John, you'd agree, and Rick would agree. If I took 10 Catholics and sat them in a group and we'd pick one thing, we'd have all different opinions about it,
Mhm,
you know, let alone get 10 different religions.
mhm,
Everybody, you know, because, um, but so I subscribe to the evolutionary way things are happening. You know, I feel like, you know, my sense of who I am and my relationship with God has developed and broadened over the course of time with what I've learned, the people I've been around, my, you know, prayer and meditation. And what I see, as we talked about, Mata brought up earlier, you know, the difficulty of fundamentalists is seems like if you're a fundamentalist in any religion,
mhm,
you're you don't realize that there's been an evolution,
mhm.
and you know what maybe have worked before just doesn't, it's not the right thing now. And I think this I don't want to dwell on it because I really want to hear what else you want to say, Susan, but this latest situation with the Pope and our friend has
Yeah.
just been totally humorous because you know, the Pope is still saying, I want to pray for peace. I want to pray for peace. I'm not here arguing. I just want to pray for peace. And he's keeping doing that, you know. And
And isn't that what we were saying? That he's perfectly calm.
Mhm.
He's not getting angry. He's not yelling. He's not fighting back. He's just saying what he has to say, which is, I preach the gospel. He's very calm about it. Whereas the other one is, la, 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 and everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. And I just think it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Well, it's been an interesting.
It has been. It has been. Um,
Well, and I'm grateful. I think I also feel I'm grateful that I don't have to be that way
I
with
know.
people. I
Yes.
mean, it's much more fun to have this kind of discussion with people, to me.
Oh, yeah, for
You know.
sure. For sure.
So,
I would say
well, I
I've
should-
really, I'll just say I've really admired Pope Leo because, he hasn't been confrontational, but he
Mhm.
just said, I need to stand up for what is true,
Mhm.
what is the gospel teachings, and he's not afraid to, stand up and be outspoken about it. So,
Right.
and obviously we have an administration that's pretty much violating every principle of that. So,
Yeah.
I've been really grateful that he's been willing to speak up, and again, not in a confrontational way. He says, I don't want to have a fight about this, but my job is to speak for Christ here and to
Right.
encourage love and peace and all that. So
Right.
I think he's been great.
And telling truth, speaking truth, which, is the gospel. That's what he's saying. And if you want to disagree with that, then that's what you're disagreeing with the gospel then. So yeah, I just think it's been
well,
been
and
great.
and really, if we want to branch this, or open this up to any faith, peace is what any faith is looking for.
Sure.
He's wanting to, yeah.
Well, that was the thing. I
So
was kind of griping. I was griping a little bit. And I always gripe about this, like in Lent, Ash Wednesday and things, because people on the news always talk about the Catholics are getting their ashes today on their foreheads. And I go, so are we. So are the Lutherans and the Episcopalians. And they were talking about the Pope and how he's, giving Catholics all of this wonderful hope. It's like, no, we're in it. We're with it too.
We know. We'll
I
tell
know,
them to,
I know.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I
John's
was
got
going
his
to say,
hand up.
since John joined us late, if you had I had asked if there was any part of the book that was particularly troubling, interesting. You had a question or a comment or anything?
It's been a while since I read it, and I haven't had a chance to
That's okay.
go back and refresh. I
Okay.
remember I read pretty much the whole book and really appreciated the layers of different approaches I mean, you were offering different approaches to people in how, well, obviously in understanding the gospel and parts of the gospel that sometimes cause difficulty in
Right.
interfaith for Christians.
Yes.
But I took it, not being Christian, I took it a very parallel message to any faith.
Mhm.
I'm very aware, the Torah has problematic texts in it that, again, the change in how religion has been taken over the centuries, another sense of evolutionary. Um, there are sections in the Torah. Well, of course, you would be aware of it. It's the same uh, text that you've read where we're told to go out and destroy idols
Mhm.
and kill those who have multiple gods.
Mhm.
And yet here in modern days, um, I don't know of any Jewish teaching that's saying we should go to India and tear down their temples. In fact, there are many Jews who
Right.
celebrate the Hinduism and Buddhism and so on.
Right.
So I think there's a message in there of reinterpreting our scriptures is important, that we've inherited often teachings that don't work anymore in today's world, if they ever did.
If they ever did.
If they
So,
ever did,
yeah, so for instance, the Battle of Jericho, So after the Exodus and the Hebrew people are moving toward the promised land and they get there
Right, right,
and God tells them, go in and conquer. There were people already there.
right,
So they're
right,
coming in as conquerors and they were told to kill all the people.
right,
Well,
right,
there's no archaeological evidence
right,
that this ever happened. It
right,
says
right.
they destroyed Jerusalem, the walls came a tumbling down, the song didn't
Right.
happen. So,
Yes.
why did somebody write that? They wrote it for a reason, and we don't know that anymore. We can guess that they were
Hmm.
trying to
Hmm.
say something, but for people who take this stuff literally, it causes
Right.
so many problems. And frankly, I wish the book of Revelation had never been put into the Bible because it's just caused so much trouble with
Yeah.
people
Well,
interpreting it.
and so really the thing that is now speaking of parallel to what you were saying about our president and Pope Leo and so on, there's a parallel struggle in the Jewish community now about the right-wing government of Israel and what it's doing to the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank,
Yep.
and now Iran, and I was very
Lebanon.
proud that major leaders of major Jewish institutions, kind of parallel to Pope Leo. I don't know which came first, but published a full page statement in the New York Times, signed by thousands of uh, Jewish rabbis and leaders, many well-known people, condemning it and saying these acts, the ones that I mentioned above, these acts are not in accord with uh, Jewish moral principles, the teachings of the Torah about how uh, that there is such a thing as a just war,
Yeah.
but they have certain criteria,
Right.
and they're not being met.
Right. That's right.
These
That's right.
situations, and so. Uh,
Oh, but wait, J.D. Vance tried to explain to the Pope what
Yes.
just war theory was.
Right, right. And so I think we are called upon to uh, more these days than, I think there was a period, maybe we've had other periods, of course, but we're really called on these days to look at the uses and misuses of our own scriptures.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I've been so troubled by this this manosphere that I don't know if you've heard about trad wives, that wives with the women are being encouraged to be traditional wives and to stay home and do the cooking and raise the kids. And okay, that's fine if they want to do that, but but they're taking it from the Bible.
Mhm.
And that is just so wrong because that's not what it meant in the Bible. And so I get very upset about that. Yeah. Um, anyway.
So I think
Anyway.
this, just like to wrap up what I was saying, I think this issue has become very relevant today
Mhm.
in a new angle. I mean, it's been relevant at least for all our lives in terms of interfaith relations and understanding one another's faiths respectfully.
Yeah.
And now it's entered the political and
Mhm.
international
Yeah.
sphere in a
Yeah.
very blatant way. And I think that's I mean, it's good it's being talked about, and who knows what
Yeah.
the outcome of this argument or whatever it is will
Yeah.
be. At least it's being talked about now and sort of confronting, oh, does our scripture really say that? Well, is that what it really meant?
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
I actually wrote an email to one of the news shows. I said, you really need to have a program and have a panel of clergy, Christian clergy who are not the Christian nationalists, to talk about these things. Well, now they kind
Uh,
of do. Every now and then they'll have somebody on, which is great. And the
Mhm.
other night, I noticed that the commentators who are, they're your liberal commentators. They don't talk about religion on the air, but they had interviews with James Tallarico and Raphael Warnock, and afterwards they were talking about their own faith. And I thought, whoa, that's great. That's what we need. That's what more of that. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, good. That was kind of a good overview, John. Thank you. Anything else? I'm scrolling through this because I'm not quite sure. There's so much. I put so much in here. I'm not sure. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about? What do you want to know about?
Well-
May I just ask quickly, when you finished the book, and I know it's been quite a few years,
Mm-hmm.
did you feel you accomplished? So what I'm trying to say is, you wanted to write the book. You weren't forced into it. You wanted to write the book. There was a reason for you to wanting to write the book.
Yes.
You wanted to open. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you wanted to. I'm thinking you wanted to open minds
Yeah.
and hearts, and that's why you went into something that's not easy to talk to. You can talk to your own group, and then they understand what you're saying. Stay in that group, and no problem. Well, there's problems there too, but usually you agree on the basic stuff. But no, you wanted to explore this very delicate, personal. It should be. I'm hoping it isn't, personal. It can't be just
yeah.
because millions of people do it. I have to do it.
Absolutely.
How did it feel once you were
The
done
thing
with
that
it?
really grabbed me was, like I said in the beginning of the book, Elsie
Yeah.
Leary, who got me started on all of
Yes.
this. And then I came out here to get my doctorate. Well, let me go back. When I was still in the congregation where Elsie was, and I was starting to work on these kinds of ideas. And so I was curious. I was curious how Christians who came every week, and how they felt about other religions. And so I asked them one day, I said, what's the purpose of Christianity? What is it about Christianity that's important? Well, it's to, be saved, or whatever they said, to be saved. Okay. Do you have friends who are of other religions? Oh, yeah, we do. I said, do you think that they're like not going to be saved? Oh, no, they will be. I said, well, wait a minute. Then why did Jesus have to die? And they just went, I don't know. And that's the question. That's the rub right there. And so I thought, there's so much written on the academic level. If you go to the GTU library, oh man, there's just so much there. But there's really nothing that can help people in a congregation look at these issues and really think them through for themselves. And I thought, that's what I need to do. And so and everybody that I would tell about it, my advisor at Pacific School of Religion, he was like, oh yeah, this is so needed. You're going to have to turn this thesis into a book. And everybody I talked to, oh yeah, we really need this. And okay. So I wrote the book, but it's hard. It's hard because most people, it's not the first thing on their minds of concern. Or they don't understand the difference between interfaith and intrafaith. Like, no, it's not interfaith. Interfaith is great, talking with other religions, but intrafaith is talking within your own religion about the experiences that you've had with other religions and what that was like for you,
Well,
What?
the other thing that I think is interesting, what I've learned, as you know, I'm a pretty progressive Catholic. So a lot of people that, and my sister First Mercy friends are of like mind, most of them, the ones that I hang out with. So I've learned over the years that I'm very cordial when I get in a group that doesn't think like that, but I don't want to spend my time with them. I'd rather find a group even like this where you can have a discussion,
Mhm.
and also I'm secure in that, in my thinking for who I am, who I'm supposed to be right now. I'm always open to getting new ideas or to taking counsel from other people, but I don't want to be in a position where I have to explain why I think this, but other people would not. and
Right.
and I think that's an interesting, the core of beliefs of that I believe are the same that any of you believe, but as I've said before, somehow I'm doing it in the context of the Catholic Church. But again, I'm selective in which Catholic churches I go to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, and everybody doesn't feel like that. I think some people just, they're whatever they have is fine for them, and they just do it, and it'll work for them, and that's
Totally.
okay.
Totally. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is, and that's true for people in the interfaith world too. Of why are you even talking about this? We don't bother with theology or any of that. Like, okay,
Yeah.
it's your choice, that's fine. But I'm a theology geek. What can I do? What? But yeah, that's a good point.
I had kind of an interesting experience. The very first time I ever went to India was in 2010, and I was actually there on a business trip, but I had an extra day, so I was in New Delhi. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to hire a Indian guide to take me around and show me the sights of New Delhi. So we did that. We went to all the different sites that you see and everything. But it
Mhm.
turns out the fellow that was taking me around was a very devout Hindu. And so he took me to the temples and first gave me a little red dot on my head and all those kinds of good things. And but he basically really, in Christianity we talk about bearing your testimony. Well, he was bearing his testimony
Okay.
and telling me how much meaning that he got from Hinduism and how it really was such a key part of his life, and that he really was grateful to be Hindu. And this was really, really the first time that I'd ever spoken to a Hindu, especially at that level.
Yeah.
And it was really eye-opening. And I just thought, wow, clearly he is getting just as much meaning out of Hinduism as Christians think that they get out of their religion, or as Jews get out of theirs, or Muslims, or whatever. And he, I thought by the end of the day I might be converted to Hinduism the way things were going.
I
Yeah.
read the book. I don't know if you ever read, maybe you did in your
Could I
group, The
ask a
History of
question?
God. Did you read The History of God by Karen Armstrong?
I have it, but I don't remember. Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
anyway, she goes through all of the major religions and just describes it. And when I was reading it, when I read about Judaism, I decided I wanted to be a Jew. When I read about Buddhism, I wanted to be a Buddhist, a Hindu. All of them were just so attractive. But that's the whole thing you learn. But then you come to appreciate your own as well as the other beads on your string.
But it
But
really does make
what
you
I
appreciate
think.
that
Oh,
all religions really bring something to people. And of course, we represent the major religions of the world, but what are there, 100 to 200 or 400 or whatever the number is? There's so many
so
religions around
many.
the world
Yep.
that, we can't represent the major ones, but there's so many others. And all these people are finding meaning from their religion.
That's right. Exactly. I get what I was thinking about somewhere back there that being with people who are much more conservative or fundamentalist and not real open to things, that there's oftentimes fear in there, that many times when I've presented this kind of thing, I've had people say to me, aren't you afraid that you're talking to people and they might convert? Or would you tell this to your children because they might convert? And it just seems like and I thought, well, if your faith is strong, why would there be a danger that you would convert? And if you really were attracted to another
Right.
religion, that would be okay. But most of that group of people don't want to hear that. Um, yeah, there's this fear that and it's this whole salvation thing too. If I don't behave myself and do the right things, then I'm not going to get to heaven. or something, but it seems like
Mhm.
there's that fear.
Mhm.
Yeah. Hmm.
You were going to say something, John.
Oh, I'm curious to hear. So we're all speaking from you touched on it a little bit just now, Susan. We're all speaking from the perspective of acceptance
Hmm.
of this idea. And so I'm wondering about encounters with people who are struggling with these ideas or arguing or genuinely finding it hard to uh, see a perspective that departs from what they were taught
Yep.
growing up
Yep.
and what they may even hear from some of the teachers that they respect. So I'm wondering about encounters that we may have had or engagements in those kind of difficult conversations
Yep.
also.
Yep. There, and I think it's in the book too, but there was a situation where I was talking to a group of people at a Lutheran church up in Novato, where I was an interim pastor. This is some years ago now, but and it was going really well. And I had as guests the director of the Interfaith Center at the Presidio and his wife. And so we were talking, and then the class was over, and we were getting ready to leave, and this young man came into the room, and he said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't be part of the group because I had to teach Sunday school, but I have a question." And he said, "What do you do about Jesus said, 'I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me.'" And the wife of and this is not a slam on her or anything, but she said, "Well, that's for Christians. That's not for other religions. That's for Christians." And I could tell that he was not satisfied by that at all. But he left. But then I followed up with him later and talked with him more about it and tried to explain a bit more of what how I think about it. And he at the end of that conversation he said, "Oh, okay, I can accept that." He was okay
So
with it.
now, so share what you talked
Oh,
to
I
him
don't
about.
even know what I said. What did I say? Well,
I
You
mean,
get you
this
give
is the
about
challenge. This is the
you
challenge for me. So the
in your
Gospel of
book
John,
you give about in your book you give about six possible answers to that
Mhm.
there
question.
are a lot of answers. There are. There
Yeah,
are. And in fact, I collect them. I
yeah.
collect answers from
I
different
mean,
people.
if you think about the cosmic Christ, or you think
Yeah.
about Christ being God, you know, um, I mean, but also the other thing that I think of when you try to explain this kind of thing, it struck me the last couple of days when I was sort of looking over your book, preparing. I don't remember a lot of the retreats I went on when I was in the convent, but I remember one in particular where this priest, I mean, I remember being there, but I don't remember learning anything. I think I'm a visual learner. And when somebody's just talking, now I'm better at it. But I think in those days, a lot of it just went over my
Yeah.
head,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I didn't have the the background knowledge to build on, and so, I mean, now I have a little bit more of that and I'm okay. But what I think I remember is, and I think of you with this, when you had 5 minutes to explain the Trinity at one of those panels,
Right.
and you did such a good job. You used who is it, the mystic that you used for the idea? It was anyway, you did a beautiful job. But anyway, in this retreat, what the priest said is, somebody came to him and said they'd finally figured out how to explain the Blessed Trinity, and they really understood it. And basically, the bottom line is the guy was crazy, because you
Right.
can't. It's a
You can't.
mystery.
That's right.
So how we explain these things, we can know in our heart what we want to
Right.
say, but there's a mystery to it.
And that's,
Um,
that's interesting because I tend to get caught up with the academic stuff because I'm a
mhm.
geek. And the Gospel of John, I used to have a real problem with the Gospel of John. I just didn't like it. Now I love it. because I've learned a lot more about it. And I learned that all of those I am sayings, I am the good shepherd, I am the truth and the life, I am the gate, I am, the light, all these I ams. John was a brilliant writer when he constructed this book with these 7 I am sayings because he wanted to tell people that Jesus was God. I
Mhm.
am, like in Exodus, who
Mhm.
shall I say sent me? Tell them I am
I
sent.
am who am. Yeah.
So the people in that day would have gotten it right away. We're like, "Oh, we don't get it," but it's part of our. I think today we're so Christians are so biblically illiterate in so many ways that we don't know these things. But for me to say, yeah, John is, first of all, it's John talking, and he's explaining his experience of Jesus. And whether you believe Jesus was divine or not, but this is John giving his witness, and he's equating Jesus with God. And so he's saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life, that God is. God is. Whatever you call God is. And so that's probably what I said.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's hard because again, it has to do with how somebody taught you that
Yeah,
information. And
yeah.
it gets back to that whole, I don't want to go to hell if I don't do this. I don't, you're while you're sorting all that out, and then, but then, if it's taught to you in a way, like I say, because literally when I was young in a Catholic school, I don't know, you're younger than me, John, so you probably didn't get this like I did, but it was
Am I?
outside your faith, you're not
Gee, you,
saved.
you
I
seem
mean, the
younger than
Catholic Church was the only faith that you
you
could be
seem
saved
younger
in.
than me.
And the big joke you'd hear the priest say later on is, you know, somebody goes to heaven and St. Peter meets him at the gate and they go in and somebody says, well, who are the people all in that room?
Oh, yes.
And he said, yeah. So, well, those are the Catholics. They think they're the only ones here. So they
Right.
go.
That's right. That's right.
So, but when you're a little kid and somebody tells you that, you want to do the right thing. And then, gradually, luckily, if you get the right kind of teaching going forward, and also I think sometimes in yourself, you have to sort out, you have to do the meditation and figure it out. I know my mom, we were taught not to go to any other churches when I was young.
Yeah.
And my mom, a friend of ours, very good friends, their son was getting married. They had older sons and a younger one that was my age. And my mom said, no, we're going to go. And I remember going and walking in the church and going like, is something bad going to happen to me? And I looked in there and I go like, this doesn't look that different than,
Surprise, surprise.
Doesn't look that dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Well, it
was,
might be dangerous, but
yeah, no, but I mean, I think that fear that you're
oh,
saying,
sure. Oh,
if
yeah.
somebody is not privileged or not privileged, I don't know if that's the word, but I feel grateful that I'd had a lot of people that I've been able to have discussions with, and like you say, theology classes and
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
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 And some people don't have that. So,
Well, that's right. That's right. And how do you help people have a different understanding? Every now and then we'll do a video about something, and the one that I did on, I don't even remember what I did it on, but I had people commenting that, oh, I'm really glad. Oh, it's for Easter. I'm really glad to see a different way of thinking. Oh, I should go back and see that so I can tell you what I said.
well, we should show it. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, I'm really glad to see a different way of thinking about Easter because I just couldn't buy that that fear kind of thing, which was never meant to be that. Although my theory is, this is my theory, that because the church is shrinking and everything and people don't come anymore, we should bring back hell. We should bring back, so they have to come.
Yeah. Well, but it could be part of what you were talking about in your book about how the changes that are happening, and who knows cyclically what will happen.
Oh my
But,
gosh,
you
no
know,
kidding. And that was written before COVID. And
mhm,
COVID just blew
mhm.
everything out of the water. So yeah. Anyway. Well, thank you. I appreciate you listening to me and taking
I'm wondering, could we have a part 2 of this
if you
discussion next
want,
month,
if you want.
and maybe focus on the second half of the book or something like that if we talk to people?
I think that would be good because the second half gets more into the mystical and the evolutionary and sort of the cosmic Christ stuff that gives it's
How do
more
the rest of
interfaith.
you how do the rest of you think of that? Do you like that idea?
Sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
And I'll send you this. Well, let me stop the recording.
I feel deprived because I missed the first half hour.